projects all in Africa and Australia?
No, they're not. The countries that are contributing are Canada, China, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, New Zealand. It's a global project. The whole world is involved.
Can I just ask who started this project? Which was the first person or country or organization that started thinking about this?
That's a really hard question to answer. I don't know. We've heard kind of rumors of, was this person who was discussing this idea over someone with over lunch once, but there's not really one person who we know is the main.
If I could just continue, there is one interesting fact about this, and that is that the South African government was the first government to actually put real money on the table to fund the SKA. So we were the first. So I mean, that's something that is that well known, is that we were actually the first country to say, okay, cool, we want to build this thing called the SKA. Now we put some hard cash on the table, and we were the first to actually do that.
Fantastic. Was that an Lady Panjol that was?
No, that was before the Lady Panjol. I think who's the Minister of. I actually can't remember. Sorry, I'm embarrassed to say.
Okay, next question coming up, Gemma.
Will the telescope still be intact throughout natural disasters?
Good question.
I didn't hear that.
Okay, will your telescope still be intact after natural disasters?
Quite probably not. Actually, I suppose it depends on what you think of as a natural disaster, but we are taking very careful measures to make sure that things that could happen won't, or sort of smaller scale things that could happen won't break them. So if you see pictures of the designs of the meerkat dish, they have all these spikes around them. I don't know if you've seen those pictures.
Yes.
And those are so that if it's hit by lightning, the lightning won't damage the dish. So they do. I mean, if there's an earthquake, the dishes are probably not going to survive. But lots of things they will survive.
Yeah. I just wanted to add to that. Yeah. So obviously, when you talk about natural disasters, it obviously depends on the area where you build the radio telescope. So I mean, what's interesting is that area is very, very stable. So there's very little tectonic plate movement, which means that there are very few earthquakes that would ever occur there. It would have to be a major earthquake for it to actually have an earthquake in that area. The biggest problems we have, and obviously before we built the telescope, they did a huge study on the weather patterns for the last 10 years to figure out exactly what kind of weather you would have to actually, what kind of weather the telescope should have to survive. And the biggest problem is lightning. There are actually a lot of thunderstorms that they have up there. So one of the big things that they needed to make sure was that the antenna could survive a lightning strike. And so we've done a lot of studies at the University of Stellenbosch to actually simulate lightning strikes onto the dish, and then make sure that the lightning, when it strikes the dish, actually goes straight to the ground. It doesn't go through any of the electronics. And so that's some of the work that's been done at the University of Stellenbosch.
Fabulous. So that was part of when you chose the sites, you looked at weather patterns, where there are earthquakes, where there all that came into play about which area was chosen. Okay.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
And the Karoo then is obviously a good area.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Right.
Well, reasons too.
Sorry?
It's good for other reasons too. So that's why, in terms of weather, that's the one reason.
Okay, and you were about to mention that perhaps while you're on the topic of reasons, other reasons that you chose the Karoo area?
Yeah, Kim, Laura.
Well, there are two main reasons. Number one, the most important reason is if you build a radio telescope, it can detect all the emission that your cell phone makes, your iPad makes. Almost every electrical device that you use is making radio waves that will interfere with our telescope. So it's really important when you want to build a huge telescope like this that will be really sensitive, that it's in an area where there are no cell phones and there are no people and there are no TV signals. And so that's why places like the Karoo are really, really suitable, because it's a very, very empty place. Number two, we want to build it in the southern hemisphere because that's where some of the most interesting objects are, and you want to be able to see them with your telescope. And also, it's important that you're in an area where the ionosphere is very quiet. So the ionosphere is just a part that is affected supporting for your radio signals. So those are the main reasons why Karoo is a very good site.
Can't see it.
Thanks. Okay. Chloe.
How many people are in the Meerkat project?
How many people are in the Meerkat project? Oh, about 100?
It's actually that's quite a tricky question to answer because if you look at our we have an office in Cape Town that's what we're speaking to you from. So our office is in Highlands, and here we have about 80, 90 people. Then you also have out in the Karoo, near a place called Carnarvon is where the site is, and that's where we're actually building the Meerkat telescope. And there we've got maybe about 20 people who are employed by us. Then we have all these people that we contract in, so people that work for other companies that come and work for us. And if you look at that, we probably employ about 600 people. So it's actually quite a big number, depending on which on how you actually define, who works for the SKA. So our actual people that work in an office, and I say an office here is about 80 or 90 people.